even in the urban area like we're in now. So I appreciate it. I appreciate being invited for this important conference and for seeing so many people out there, particularly the number of young people. It's wonderful, and I hope I'm able to add at least a little bit to this event. You know, I've been in higher education for 34 years, since I got my PhD in 1980. And we have constantly discussed in faculty meetings, seminars, workshops, and discussions with people in the business community. Okay? What's the problem with today's graduates? In 1980, of course, today's graduates would be in their 50s. But we've asked the same question, and we always got the same answer. The answer was, well, the universities aren't preparing students in a practical way. They're not preparing them to do what businesses, industry need. This is what we heard 34 years ago. They're not preparing them to do what we actually need. And that's exactly what we hear today. So what we've been doing in the meantime hasn't worked, I've concluded, because people say the same things now they did then, and they say it more fervently. We're still not preparing students for business. The issue is why. If we've had this long a period of time, and I'm only dating it back to 1980, my guess is the same conversations went on in 1950. What's wrong? Well, maybe we're not looking at the right things. What is it that business needs? Let's think about it for a minute. If Shell or Maybank says, we want people who understand how to do their jobs at Shell or Maybank, why would they train these students? Why would they hire trained students from universities? They could do it better themselves. That's not what they want. They want students, fresh graduates, workers, hopefully long-term workers, who can do something else. They want ones who can think and who can adapt to new problems. You could get the top student out of MIT, hire him at IBM. If he learns nothing in 5 years, he's going to be fired. You need someone who can keep learning, and we talk about critical thinking and lifelong learning all the time, but we haven't asked the question that I want to address during most of my talk today. How do you get that? We know what that thing is. Being able to keep learning, being able to adapt. That's what the Shells and the Petronases and the IBMs and the Sime Darbys need. How do we get that, though? We've been looking to the wrong places and getting the wrong answers. What we need is something that's about 2,500 years old. And the great philosopher Socrates understood what that was. The first teacher, probably the greatest teacher in the history of the world, with the exception, I suppose, of Confucius, who, at about the same time, said the same thing. You need students, people, citizens, who can question. They need to understand how to ask questions. And this is something we've simply forgotten. Now, I'm not trying to pick on any country here, but think about it for a minute. You go through 12 or 13 years of education prior to entering a college or a university. What is it that you're asked to do in order to receive the best marks, the most accolades? You're asked to pass tests, to figure out what you have to do to pass tests. Now, that involves sitting there, listening, going to tuition classes, something which incidentally are unheard of in America. You go to tuition classes, you take these, and if you question, you not only are not going to be welcomed, you're going to be taking away valuable time from your task, which is to figure out how to pass the test. So we not only have a generation of students who don't know how to question, they're told you better not question if you want to get the kinds of things that we give you as your rewards. And this is exactly the opposite of what Socrates said. Now, Socrates had a simple answer to this. He simply said, you learn through your questioning. That's what you need to do. I'm not here to debate the subject. There's not enough time for us to debate it, frankly. I don't mean today or at this conference. I mean there's not enough time, period. We have simply forgotten how to do this. Well-educated people 500 years ago never would have questioned this. They would have said to me the equivalent of when a teenage kid today says, duh. Nobody would have doubted this. We have simply forgotten it. We've collectively forgotten that you learn through questioning. Confucius didn't question that, and neither did Socrates. Now, how do I know this works? How can I be so sure that this works? Because it has worked. I can't explain to you how a lot of things in life work, nor can you to me, I'm sure. That they do. You know that when you do certain things, other things will happen. We have seen the Socratic method work. Discourse questioning. We've seen it work repeatedly. Let me give you some illustrations of why I know this. I'd like you to take it on faith, but I don't expect you to. But let me just give you a couple of illustrations why I know this works. You probably know that in America, my home country, even though I've adopted Malaysia, I'm sort of Amerlasian, that we have too many lawyers. Now, nothing wrong with lawyers, it's just that we have too many. We have over 1 million lawyers.